Today I want to talk about a sort of concept that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and that is that in life you have to pick your sacrifice. So every time you make a decision in your life, you pick a sacrifice. Every time you choose what you want to do, you're sacrificing the opportunity to do something else. And even if you choose to not make some kind of decision, that choice in itself is sacrificing the opportunity to make a decision. I made the decision to leave school on mental health grounds for 10 months in year 11. I picked a sacrifice. I sacrificed everything that I had in the school environment socially, and I chose to sort of carve my own path. You cannot do everything. You know, your life is finite. You are going to die. Like, you don't have all the time in the world to do everything. So there are things that you have to sacrifice. Really, the things that we do are not single, isolated, mutually exclusive activities. When we do something, it promotes another action and inhibits another action. For example, if I decide to stay up late one night, I will feel worse the next day. I will have a lower mood, and that will maybe lead me to not do the things that I wanted to do, not be as focused in the class, not go to the gym, and not be as nice to the people around me. So the things that we do, the things that we decide to do, not only sacrifice the things in the present, but they sacrifice other things in the future. And the decisions we make every single day, the sacrifices that we pick, are really what shapes our entire life. Decide the path you want to take in life by deciding what paths you think are willing to sacrifice to take that one. This concept can also help us to set goals. You know, instead of thinking, I want to do this thing and achieve this sort of numerical, material goal, think, to do that, what will I have to sacrifice? For example, you want to get these grades. You know, it's arbitrary, but you know, these 3 grades in my A levels or these GCSEs. Well, what do you have to sacrifice for that? Well, you have to work hard. You have to do revision. You have to focus on sleeping well so you remember the information. You have to have a good routine with studying. You have to build a habit. Or if you want to commit to the gym, you have to sacrifice maybe other leisure activities that you wanted to do, time where you'd prefer to relax. You have to sacrifice that to go to the gym. And sacrifices can also be less sort of action based and more feeling based. Me creating this YouTube channel sacrificed my lower levels of social anxiety the night that I shared my first video, but without posting that video, I would have sacrificed the opportunity to make YouTube videos. Do you know what I mean? Every single thing that you do, a sacrifice is picked. Picking a sacrifice can also reduce FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, as long as you make the decision with conviction. You consciously pick your sacrifice. You don't unconsciously pick your sacrifice, because I think that's what leads to unhappiness and the fear of missing out and social comparison and feeling inadequate, is when you sort of make decisions in your life unconsciously. Justify the decisions that you make. Like, if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, is that I want you to think about the things that you do every day. What are you sacrificing? For me personally, I work very hard. In a way, you know, with the way the world works at the moment, that's seen as a very positive thing. Really, I see it as, okay, I'm going to commit time to, you know, study, to go to the gym, to make YouTube videos, and I've got to sacrifice a social life. I mean, I do have some kind of social life, but I've sacrificed going to parties, people my age, you know, meeting people that way, sacrificing the instant gratification tasks of going out and partying and drinking and trying out different experiences and, you know, being in the social sphere of my age group. I sacrificed that, and in return I got the grades that I did, and I'm happier because I've looked after my health and I'm making these videos and sharing my thoughts online. I don't regret my decision because I did it consciously. I knew when I left school that if I did this, the connection with a lot of people will dissipate. I mean, I've gone back to school now and I'm back with a nice friend group. You know, I enjoy my time there. People are friendly. It's a good time. But you know, I knew it would be more difficult as soon as I'd left school. But I picked the sacrifice to prioritise my mental health and prioritise doing the things that I wanted to do. So don't just drift into another situation. Like, choose your path, justify your path, and pick the sacrifice that you're going to make. But the next time you think about something you want to do, you see a better version of yourself in your mind, and you think, you know, I want to work towards that. Well, think, what sacrifice is it going to take? And am I willing to sacrifice that? Am I willing to give up the time or give up the things that I enjoy in the moment to do activities that will benefit my future self or that will benefit me now? And picking your sacrifice doesn't just have to be the things that you do. It's also the person that you are. If you want to be a certain type of person, you have to sacrifice the behaviors that take you away from being that person. If you want to be someone that prioritizes their health, then you have to sacrifice the not prioritizing sleep, eating unhealthy processed foods, leading a sedentary lifestyle. You sacrifice those things to be the person that you want to be. Everything in life is the yin yang. Everything has a positive and everything has a negative. And when you realize that, it makes it much easier to make these kind of decisions. Where would you be in 5 years if you picked a certain sacrifice? You sacrificed an extra 3 hours a week to work on a business on the side, or an extra 5 hours to study, or you sacrificed time that you would have spent doing something to hang out with friends. It's so important that you make life choices consciously. You don't just drift into situations. When I feel like I'm potentially missing out on something, I'll remind myself that I picked this sacrifice. At the end of the day, like, the time that we have to exist is ours. It's our choice what we do with our time. And if you're in a situation that's undesirable, you can't blame the world and you can't blame anyone else. I mean, yes, of course, there are anomalies to that premise, and there are people whose circumstances are so out of their control, but I'm talking about the general average person that's hearing my voice on this video right now. You have your time, you own your time, and whenever you feel like you wish it was a certain way, well, you can do that, but you've got to think, what have you got to sacrifice to get you to where you want to go? I always constantly try and remind myself that picking a sacrifice with conviction is a way to choose your path through life. You don't have a lot of time, so choose something. You know, get your act together and do something and pick a path. Pick your sacrifice. You know, what do you want to sacrifice in your life? Because there'll be the things when you look back and you'll regret not choosing a certain thing that you wanted to do. Don't worry about what you could have done or who you could have been. You know, because you can pick the sacrifice now. You can decide, I'm going to stop doing these things. I'm going to do these things instead. I'm going to stop being that person. I'm going to become this person. You can choose that right now. You can make that decision in this moment. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you let me know in some way by leaving a like or joining the Be an Anomaly movement, because that's what we're about here. We're about picking our sacrifices, carving our own path, doing the right things, doing the things that we want to do with authenticity. So join that movement by subscribing down below. And all that's left to say is that I will see you all next time for another video. So see you next time for more, basically.